Hi, it's Dre Griggs of Obsidian Wisdom. Today we discuss the importance of long-term care planning, as well as any alternatives that are available for you when you're planning for your long-term care need. In this series of videos, we're going to discuss the importance of long-term care planning. In the next three videos, first we'll talk about long-term care insurance and how it can fit into your retirement plan. Second, we'll talk about any alternatives for those that maybe don't want long-term care or they don't qualify for it. And third, we'll talk about any financial or legal considerations when it comes to long-term care and how it impacts your ability to retire successfully. So, first, let's start by discussing what long term care is and what would qualify someone for long term care needs. When it comes to long term care, there's normally five or six things that each of us need to be able to do just to have a normal functioning life. If you're unable to do any three of these, then most insurance companies, most providers will consider you with a long term care need. So, these things are going to be your ability to bathe, your ability to wash yourself, dress yourself, eating food, going to the bathroom, and just your ability to transfer yourself, just your ability to move around. If you're unable to do any of these three things at one particular time, then if you have long term care insurance, for example, you'll qualify for it. And even if you didn't have long term care insurance, you would still be noted as someone with a long term care need. And then you would have to figure out what makes the most sense for you. So we first started talking about insurance. The thing I always let you guys know is insurance is your ability to leverage someone else's money so that you can then put your money in something else. Leverage is normally going to be the name of the game. Some leverage is good, some leverage not so good. But if you understand what you're doing, then most leverage can be used in a way to help you take advantage and have a successful retirement. But when you understand the risk associated with leverage and are able to put the proper plan in place, then it's something that you don't have to be scared of. It's just a way for you to be able to take advantage of other people's money, other people's situations in a way that is mutually beneficial for both of you. Now, the reason long term care is important and why it has to be a part of your overall retirement plan is because the numbers show that 7 out of 10 people 65 years of age and older will have at least one long term care episode. And the cost is going to range depending on the type of long term care service that you take advantage of, but you can expect to pay somewhere between $35,000 to $45,000 a year for your long term care needs. And that number does obviously go up with inflation each year. So it depends when you have to take advantage of it. But when you look at that cost, you'll say, okay, well, why is the cost $35,000, $40,000 a year? That's a big chunk of money. Well, it depends what type of long-term care that you use. You normally have three choices. So the first one is you can go into a nursing home, and then that offers you 24/7 healthcare services. So if you have a long-term care need, you go into a nursing home, and then you're basically going to have everything taken care of. If you need help moving, if you need help doing any of those things that we mentioned, there will be someone that's available for you. Second, you can look into moving into an assisted living facility. So this one has a little bit more community. You do have a little more independence, probably your own apartment, your own place that you can stay in, but it's within a community where there's a bunch of events and activities that are kind of set up for everyone to take advantage of. You're all normally around the same age, and the events are catered for people that are normally going to be in that 65 or older range. Now, because you don't have assistance 24/7, this is normally a nice option for someone that's able to do most things on their own, but they may just need help with some things. Or this could be an option if you're thinking, well, I sort of want to be able to move into a place where there's a bunch of people also retired around the same age. We have the same interests. We want to take trips together. We want to coordinate things together. And we want to be able to do these different hobbies and events together. That would be normally a situation where you say, okay, I don't think I need a nursing home with 24/7 coverage, but I do think it will make sense for me to at least explore an assisted living facility. I was already thinking about downsizing, and I don't necessarily want to keep track of my big home anymore. So moving into an assisted living facility is a nice option for those that don't need 24/7 care and are looking for ways to downsize. Third is your home health aide. This is when the doctor comes to you. So the nurse will come visit you in your home. They'll come 5 days a week, whatever the frequency is, and they will offer you the services that you need. If you have physical therapy, they'll come to your house and they'll help you with the exercises. If you have medicine that you need to be given, they'll come to your house and they'll give you the medicine. So your home health aid is going to vary because it depends on how much you're paying the person. But because you're paying the person an hourly rate to come to your house, a max amount of convenience, most will say that a home health aid is going to be on the upper end of the expenses. Now, when it comes to the cost of each of these, as you can imagine, the nursing home is going to be more than the assisted living facility. One, you get 24/7 coverage. One, it's more of a community of people that are like-minded in their retirement journey, but you do have the assistance. It's just not available 24/7. So when it comes to comparing those, you can expect to pay somewhere around $5,000 to $10,000 for a nursing home and somewhere around $3,000 to $6,000 when it comes to an assisted living facility. When it comes to paying a home health aide, that's going to be about $20 to $30 per hour. So, for example, if you were to have a home health aide come for 5 hours a day each day, so that's 7 days a week, that would be 35 hours a week that they would come times the $20 an hour. That would be about $700 a week that you'd have to pay them. If they're more specialized and you find yourself paying closer to $30 an hour for the same 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, that would be $1,050 that you would pay each and every week. And so, depending on how much help you need, what type of services they're going to be rendering, you can see why a home health aid could be something that maybe you can mitigate some of the expenses, but it may be something that's even more expensive than a nursing home. This is why when we this is why when we talk about the role of long-term care insurance, we normally are going to talk about three immediate benefits that you're going to receive. The first one is long-term care insurance gives you protection against these high costs that we just went over. These costs can vary depending on the severity of your need and how long the duration is. As I mentioned to you, on average is 3 years that we need long-term care. It's not that we necessarily need it 3 years in a row, but over the length of our retirement, it's on average 3 years. It could be the last 3 years of retirement. It could be the first 3 years of retirement. It could be a 6 month span that's sprinkled throughout your retirement. But on average, 7 out of 10 people 65 and older will have a long-term care episode that will average 3 years of service. And based on the numbers that we just discussed, that means you would need anywhere from $100 to $200,000 set aside for long-term care. So if you're not interested in setting aside the money for long-term care, now there are some alternative strategies that we'll go over in the next video. But if you don't have to set aside the money, then it makes sense for you to explore long-term care insurance. You'll pay a monthly premium, and that premium will vary depending on how old you are, your overall health concerns, and what type of long-term care coverage you're looking for. Do you have your coverage set at $100,000 or do you have your coverage set at $500,000? Does your coverage adjust with inflation or does it stay the exact same amount? Is it flexible where you get access for needs other than long-term care? Depending on your age, your overall health, and how you structure your long-term care insurance, you can probably see yourself paying anywhere from $100 to maybe $200 a month, but it can vary depending on how you structure it. When it comes to you putting your retirement plan together, one of the most often overlooked aspects of retirement planning is what do I do if everything doesn't go perfectly? I've already have the number set up, so I know I have the amount I need. I see what my social security is going to be. As long as I'm healthy and everything is perfect, then I have all the money that I'll ever need throughout retirement. But what if it doesn't go perfectly? I believe that we should have some sort of contingency plans in place. And I'm only speaking from my own personal experiences. As you guys are well aware, when I quit corporate America and started my own company, I took several risks. One of the risks is I got rid of my life insurance. Another risk is I got rid of my healthcare insurance because I'm a very healthy person. I was in my early 20s and I wasn't having any issues. I was paying hundreds of dollars every single month for healthcare that I never ever used. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to start a business. I don't have that money. So how about I get rid of that expense? Well, that was the year I went to Nigeria with my father-in-law for a wedding and ended up getting bit by mosquitoes. I had malaria and I was in the hospital for 3 days trying not to die. And by the time I came out, I had a pretty hefty hospital bill. And that was also the year, go figure, that I tore my patella tendon, which is the tendon that holds your kneecap in place. And that popped right off. So I had to have knee surgery. And I didn't have health insurance. Again, this was all in the same year. And the crazy thing is, since then, I've never had another healthcare issue. I haven't gone to the doctor and they've been like, hey, you need this, you need that. It's always just been business as usual. But that one year that I did not have health insurance was a pretty rough year for me. So when it comes to your retirement, you can't just assume that it's going to be rainbows and skittles the entire way through. And if and if 7 out of 10 people 65 and older will have at least one long-term care episode, then we shouldn't be assuming that everything's going to be perfectly, which means that if we don't have some sort of risk protection in place, the moment that we have a long-term care episode and it costs us $40,000, that may be a significant hit to your overall retirement plan. Not to mention, on average, long-term care needs is 3 years. We're talking about over $100,000 coming out of your retirement investments to fund your long-term care need. For a lot of people, that is going to deplete their retirement funds and the risk of running out of money increases astronomically. And I'll put a link to another video where I go through a case study where I show you what we call stress testing, which is a very fancy way of saying, what if my retirement doesn't go perfectly? Is there some strategy I can put in place to ensure that I don't run out of money in retirement? And the third consideration of long-term care insurance is flexibility and choice. Sometimes it's not that we don't have the money that we could set aside, it's that I don't know if I want to set the money aside. I like the flexibility of being able to have a portion of my money that I can keep investing aggressively to be able to fund my retirement, to get a nice return, to build a legacy for my next generation. But I also have to be able to afford my current lifestyle. So I have to have some money that's relatively liquid because I have to be able to spend it. If my money is invested in the stock market, but I have to take it out during a downturn, well, that may deplete my retirement funds too. So if I have the money relatively safe and liquid, there's an opportunity cost of me not being able to invest the money as aggressively as I would if I didn't need it for 5 to 10 years. Because we don't know when we're going to have a long-term care episode, that means that a portion of our money has to be relatively liquid to fund the long-term care need. But if you have long-term care insurance, you then have a little bit more flexibility because you know that your long-term care insurance is going to be whatever the amount that you set it at. You have it covering 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. You can have it covering 50,000, 100,000, 150, 500,000, whatever the amount that you want to cover. But you could be able to design your long-term care insurance to cover a portion, if not all of the long-term care needs. And then you could design it in a way where it also goes back to you if you don't use it, or at least you can spend it on non-healthcare expenses. And that's another way that you have a little bit more flexibility, but it goes into how you want to design your overall healthcare needs. When it comes to the role of long-term care insurance, there's really three benefits that we're able to immediately see. Number one is I have the ability to optimize my healthcare. The numbers show that if I've already spent the money on long-term care insurance, I'm more comfortable spending it because I've already paid for it. So I'm going to use it. Versus if I'm not sure how it's going to impact my retirement, we're a little more hesitant about spending money on long-term care needs. We may sit around the house and see if we can kind of work it out on our own. We're not really sure what the cost is, so we don't want to go to the doctor and call people. We want to be able to stay within the plan that we have. And others of us, we have the need and we have to do something about it. So once we go out and we spend it, now we're worried about what we're going to do the rest of our retirement. Maybe it took away some of my trips. Maybe it took away some of the time I can spend with my family. But maybe I was going to sit inside anyways and just curl up with a good book and enjoy myself. If that's what your plan for retirement was, then it may not be as much of a risk for you. But that's just something that we all have to consider. Long-term care insurance gives you the ability to optimize your health care. Number two is risk protection. And we've already gone over the numbers, so you're well aware that it's going to be about $35,000 to $45,000 a year. And on average, our long-term care needs is going to be about 3 years. Now, whether you're in a nursing home or an assisted living facility, an adult daycare, or maybe you go once or twice a week, or you have a home health aide or an LPN come to your house, well, that's going to vary how much you have to pay, depending on what the overall need is. Number three is flexibility and choice. Now, whether we're talking about it from the financial aspect, which is I have to have a certain amount of money set aside, relatively liquid, in case I have a long-term care need, I'm able to go into that money and spend it. If that money is aggressively invested in the stock market or if it's in real estate or a business, it's not very liquid. So it may take me a while to get the money, or it's unfavorable terms for me to get access to the money. Because of that lack of flexibility, that lack of liquidity, oftentimes that can be something that's very difficult for us. That long-term care insurance gives us the flexibility where even if it's a small amount, it now gives us a little bit more runway so that we can put the proper plan in place to access the money and liquidate things. We just have a little more flexibility with long-term care insurance. Also, we could be talking about flexibility from the people perspective. For a lot of people, they'll say, well, I have my spouse to take care of me, or I have my kids to take care of me, or someone will take care of me. That could be emotionally draining where someone that we love and care for, we're seeing them in a different light where they're struggling to do things that they often can do normally on their own. It can also be difficult for the person taking care of us. They're working 7 days a week, they're on call all the time, and that can be very draining for them just to work that often. Which is why it can be a good idea to get a small long-term care policy where we're able to give our loved one 1 day a week off, 2 days a week off, where we're not able to have all the coverage that we need, but we are able to have enough where we can at least give the person a day off, give them a chance to recover, to recuperate, to recharge their batteries. It's also worth considering the long-term care needs when we talk about the ladies in our audience. There's two things to consider. One is most of the long-term care assistance provided is probably going to be your daughter, your spouse is probably going to be a woman. And number two is because men traditionally die earlier because your spouse has been taking care of you and then you pass, they're drained and they don't have anyone to help take care of them. Which is why I often tell couples, if you're not able to get long-term care insurance for both of you, you probably want to at least consider getting a very small policy for the male so that the spouse is able to take a day or 2 days off a week or a month, however you want to structure it. Or we want to get a long-term care policy for the female, because if the male is going to traditionally pass first and then there's no one to take care of the female, well, now we at least have something in place to ensure that our spouse is okay once we go. And so when it comes to long-term care insurance, you do have a lot of flexibility. You don't have to bite the whole apple off, but we can put some contingency plans in place, which gives us a little bit of peace of mind, a little bit more flexibility, a little bit of comfort knowing that it's one less thing that we have to worry about in retirement.